philanthropy, insurance, and bow ties. That much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
Well, my guest today is an exciting one. My guest is Joseph Farley with Farley and Associates. Joseph, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Can't complain. Thanks for coming out to Fort Worth today and being here at the studios. I do appreciate it.
Man, I love Cowtown.
It's a good place. Man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my little teaser there, I talked about your bow tie. I like your bow tie there, and I'll even have to get a picture of your socks and show those to the people. You got your MAGA socks on today.
Right. I wear my MAGA socks when I go downtown Dallas for the bankers. It just drives them crazy. You know, you just cross your leg and they look at that red, white, and blue and MAGA and they go, "Does that guy have a MAGA? Is that a MAGA sock?"
Oh my gosh! Anything to get them riled. They'll go riled up too, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you want to see the manifestation of demons? You know, you show them a MAGA sock and you got it right there.
Well, you better watch out, or else the President Biden's gonna start calling you a disciple, since he called that former President Trump the MAGA king or whatever. It's like nuts. That is crazy what they're doing over there. Well, tell me, Joseph, I had asked you to come on today, and because you have so much going on. Obviously, I mentioned nothing about oil and gas either in the teaser, but you are heavily involved in the oil and gas industry. But also, you have a great book that you've written called "Destroying the Altar of Baal." But also, you're a big philanthropist, and you're in the insurance side of things. I'd love to kind of just talk about you a little bit today and everything that you got going on.
Sure. Well, it's really exciting times, and we thought back in 2018 that we really needed to get a book out. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, to document it. If you could take this book for the most part and file it in a courthouse as evidence, because what we did is we did the research on this to explain and to be able to expose what's really going on. A lot of people would not believe that public officials would be involved in child sacrifice and all kinds of weird, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is getting ready to get exposed to the people.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things that people have thought, well, that's got to be a conspiracy theory. And the greatest part about this is that when you share something with somebody for the first time, and they hear it and they think that can't be true, and the reason that it can't be true is because they've never heard it before, therefore it can't be true. So when you show them, and this is really getting into a demoralized country, and that's what the Luciferians have tried to do to us, to completely demoralize us. But if you show people black ink on white paper, congressional record, here's what it says. Mm-hmm. They'll go, that's got to be fake. Well, okay, go to the Library of Congress, look it up. Here's where you can find it. I'm not even going to do it. That's fake.
Yeah.
When you start to mess with people's beliefs that they want to hold on to, I like the little story about the way they catch monkeys in Africa. Is they take a coconut, drill it out, put a little peanut in it, tie a rope around it, put it behind throw it out there, stand behind the tree. The little monkey comes in and he looks at it, puts his hand down there to get the peanut, and can't get his hand out, and they just reel him in. And the moral of that is because of their peanut ideas, they get caught, right?
Right.
And that's how the American people really are. Because of their mindsets, they're not willing to look at the truth, because looking at the truth is very painful for a lot of people. And it really was for me back in 2000, of when I began to see some of these things and thought, yeah, that's so far-fetched, that can't be right. And then I had this thought, well, why don't you look it up? Hey, that's a good idea. You know, so I started my research on all of this stuff. So as we're going to see, and the reason that this ties into the oil and gas business is so vitally important. People are getting ready to get a massive wake-up call. And I think I shared with you the other day on the phone, I had heard something, and I thought, I'm going to go check on that. I think I know what I'm at. But I'm at 6 cents a kilowatt hour on my electric bill.
Okay.
Then through a lot of information digging, I found out that the cost to produce that is about 13 cents. My renewal, if I renewed today, would be 16 cents. That means that my utility bill is going to triple in value.
Yep.
And when people begin to see inflation, the real inflation, that's when people are going to start to wake up, because people are going to have to see what's coming. And it's just like in a courtroom. One thing a jury can never do, and that is unsee something. And slick attorneys will throw something out and say, okay, I'll withdraw that. Well, wait a minute. The jury's already been tainted, right?
Right, yeah.
They can't unsee that. That's going to be in the back of their minds. So I think what we're going to see here, and one of the reasons that we had started Farley Ventures, was that they've got to get the price of energy sky high. They've got to get it up in order for their Green New Deal to work. Because their Green New Deal is a fraud. It does not work. The numbers will not pencil out. So the thought of, hey, you need to buy solar because you're going to lock in your price.
Yeah.
Well, that's great as long as the price keeps going up. But what happens when you turn into a 1932 and you hit depression and everything crashes? And that's where we're headed as we're on this roller coaster of inflation, stagflation, and then the bottom falls out. Yeah. And so when that bottom falls out, it's going to wake a lot of people up, because we in America have been used to the luxuries of life. Anything we want, snap of a finger, we can get it.
Yep.
Our comfort level is, our tolerance for pain is very limited. And people willing to do the hard things, they're not going to do. And the Luciferians know this. They realize that, hey, if you make it easy for people, they'll do it. If you make it convenient, they'll do it. It's very easy to shut one gate and get the sheep moving that way. Super easy. So in this research time that we went through probably 2 years ago, we started to look at the electric frac. Okay. And prior to looking at the electric frac, we began to look at natural gas back in 2008. And so when everything kind of fell out in 2008, we thought, before it fell out, we thought, we want to get in the natural gas business, in the oil and gas business. So we bought all this iron and everything else, and we bought it at the exact wrong time. The market crashed. We had the iron in the yard for a year. And my brother and I, we blamed each other. Hey, this was your whiskey idea. Yeah, but you wrote the check for it. I mean, all those kind of things, right? Yeah. So over that year time frame, we made a commitment of, let's never do anything that stupid again. We got into something we didn't know anything about. We bought the equipment. We thought we were going to run down this road, and we got a real boxing lesson. But we got a godsend that the market turned back around. We actually sold it for a profit. So, it's like, oh, thank you, God. We'll never do that again, right?
Right, yeah.
So in this natural gas, when fuel was going up, we looked at Cisco Foods, we looked at Cemex, we looked at all these big global companies, because they wanted to switch over from diesel to natural gas, right? the problem was that we started running into the pipeline issue, the transportation issues. So we had developed a program that we could go out to stop the flaring, to process the natural gas out in the field, make the LNG, truck it in. That way would be the mobile pipeline to bypass the the monopoly of the pipeline.
Yeah, the monopoly.
For lack of a better word. So this whole plan that's gone on has been to kill the independent producer.
Yes.
And the global producers that want this ESG thing to really kick in and to do all these different things, they may be in the oil business, but that doesn't mean that they're patriots, and that doesn't mean they're independent producers. They are globalists.
Yeah.
And we worked with one of the globalists, and that we can talk about in this energy sector. But going back to the natural gas piece for just a moment.
Yeah.
We took an opposite approach from Boone Pickens. Boone took the approach of, hey, I'll get government grants, and I will build it, and they will come. Well, he built a lot of them, but there's a lot of them that never opened. But that's okay. He got his grant money. God bless Boone and everything else.
Oh, he's done some great things, and I think if you ever read, was it a second or third autobiography? The First Billion is the Hardest,
right?
And very, very smart individual, talking about with the grants and all that. Very smart. Yeah,
right.
Very smart.
Yeah. Boone was no dummy. That's for sure. But we took the approach of saying, we don't want anything, and that's the primary focus that people are starting to get into. We don't want anything from the government other than for them to get out of the way and leave us alone.
That's it.
So, but they're never going to do that. I shouldn't say never. They haven't done that so far, but things are getting ready to drastically change. So when we figured out that after making the commitment that until we get a contract, we're not going to build anything. We're not going to do anything. We're going to get a contract because the people that save the most are the global companies, not us.
Yeah.
If they're not willing to sign up, we're not going to do it. So we'd have companies like Frito-Lay that would say, hey, we're going to do an RFP and we're going to buy 10 vehicles. That's great. You can't build a station for 10 vehicles. You're wasting everybody's time by doing that.
Yeah.
But Frito-Lay, UPS, all these other guys, global companies that wanted to try this thing out. Well, sure enough, diesel came back down. When diesel drops, the natural gas business for transportation is over.
Yes.
I mean, it stopped that quick. So we had a chance to really kind of learn this, but our takeaway on that, and this was years later, that we were thinking about, why did we go through this natural gas thing? We spent 5 years on this, never got a deal done, never got a contract signed. So what was the purpose for this? Well, the only claim to fame is, hey, we didn't go broke.
Yeah.
We did not go broke. And there's a lot of guys that did out there in that industry. We'll live to fight another day. So we started Farley Ventures knowing that with what happened in politics, they're going to have to get the price of all this stuff up. And so doing the electric frac, the electric motors run so much more efficient. They're so much cheaper. There's so many great things about the electric motor. And we had strategic alliance partnerships set up with different companies that would provide the electric motors, guys that did the engineering. We had all this set up. But at the end of the day, you have your battery issue. And the problem with the batteries is that they're so expensive right now. So we had a partner with a battery component that was going to make a contribution into the partnership with a battery. And that's the only way that this is going to work. And the way that we know that is from the natural gas deal, because it's parallel of exactly what happened, right? And so our quote unquote partner from a different country that I don't want to mention, got a little chicken at the last and turned out that they couldn't actually perform in what they claimed that they could perform. And it's like, the Achilles heel. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, this is not going to work. It's not going to work at all. And the price, when you pencil all this out, if you had to pay retail for this battery, or even if you got them at wholesale, they still don't work. But over time, with inflation, it would work. So what has to happen is the price has to go up. Yeah. And it doesn't have to go up a little bit.
Got to go up
a lot,
right?
It's got to go up a bunch. You know, when you see $200 a barrel oil, when you see $10 a gallon for fuel, that will start to wake the people up of, wait a minute, something's going on here. You know, I'm feeling it here at the pump. When we went from $3 to $4, you got a little crying going on out there. Mm-hmm. But when it goes to 10, you're going to get a lot of crying.
Wait, you think we're going to go to $10 gas?
We might.
Man.
I mean, I actually hope we do. And the reason for that is this.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $10 a gallon for gas,
yeah.
right? But I would rather pay $10 a gallon for gas for a short period of time, provided the American people woke up and realized that we've been in a war for over 50 years. And actually, it's been since 1913, and probably before that. I'll give you a little factoid.
I was about to say, you're kind of going way back here for this war on the oil and gas industry. Very interesting.
Let me give you a little factoid. When we were under a different monetary system than what we're under now, there was a group, in other words, the Federal Reserve, 1913. Okay. So 1910, maybe 1905, probably. I think it was 08 when it actually started. And we write about that in the book. But there was a group that set up in all the states, and they organized and said, hey, this monetary system that we have is no good. It's bad. We need to get a new one. They pumped that. And then in December, when everybody was home except a few people, they passed the 1913 Federal Reserve Act.
Okay.
And they slid that through.
What is the 1913 Federal Reserve Act?
Okay, so that particular act is, they tied it and then they changed it several times. But they would tie it to silver, they would tie it to gold, they would tie it to they had it tied to something that it had value. Okay. I'm going to show you this right here in just a moment. 1971, Nixon took us off that standard completely. This dollar bill, or this currency, is backed up by nothing. This is backed up by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? So, but if you read that down there at the bottom, can you read that small print right there?
It says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private.
Okay. This what?
This note.
Note. That's all it is. It's a note. So if I came to buy your house, I said, Ray, I want to buy your house. And you said, man, that's great. Okay, look, Ray, tell you what, how about, will you owner finance it? Yeah, I'll owner finance it. Give me some money down, and then I'll owner finance the rest. Okay, great. So we have a note. And the first month comes due, and you say, hey, you're supposed to pay me on the first. You're right. Let me give you another note. Well, about the second month, you're going to say, wait a minute. I want to get paid. I want money in my hand, baby.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to give you a note, because that's all I had to give you is a note. One note after another note after another note after another note. You've never been paid. We've never been paid. America's never been paid. You were supposed to be able to take this over to the Federal Reserve window and say, give me my silver, give me my gold. That's what you were supposed to be able to do. It's not backed up by anything now.
Right.
So the American people really aren't aware of it. They may have heard something. Yeah, I think I heard something about that. Well, when you see the price of fuel go up, that's not really what's happening. It's that this $20 is going down in purchasing power. That's what's really happening. Everything that's going on out here is going up in value. Well, no, it's really going down in value. So if you remember at the start of the Russia thing, how we were going to punish Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, their ruble has gone up in value.
Yes, because they got back on the gold standard here.
That's right.
Just in the last little while.
That's right.
And I read a report that, and I'll butcher it, I promise you that, but basically that if you took the ruble, which is less than the value of $1, but you went and traded the ruble for gold, that basically you can then trade that gold for $1 and basically get more money. In a nutshell, is that correct?
Yeah. So So the perception, and see, everything is about perception. It doesn't matter right or wrong. It's the perception. What do the people perceive? This is what's going to freak a lot of people out. The circus that you're seeing in Washington right now, compared to Hollywood, Washington hired Hollywood to create things. So you say, well, and this is, you'd have to do the research to find this out.
I was about to say, yeah, you're going here.
I'm going someplace here, and I'll say it this way. I'm not saying that we went to the moon, but I'm saying that they can't get back there. And they said that they've lost the directions of how to get there, really. How do you lose directions to, I mean, if we did this in the 60s or 70s, I mean, come on, right? So the American people are getting ready to see with their eyes because they won't listen right now, because you can show people black ink on white paper and they hear the vibration of your voice. But, Jesus said to have eyes to see and ears to hear. They don't hear. And so they're going to have to see. And, we're coming into a time this summer, I think, that it's going to be very, very painful. There's this issue, the big issue that's out there, and I don't want to get you kicked off, so I have to be careful how I say it. But this issue that's about this book.
Okay.
Let me do it this way.
All right.
Back in the old days, back in the Bible days, they would take their children to this big brass god called Baal and lay the infant in the arms of this brass god, and down in the belly of the god they would light this fire, amazingly hot. When they would put that child in the arms or on the altars of Baal, it would kill the child, and then the arms would move that would throw the child in Baal's mouth. Now, they did that because they were told, perception again, they were told if they sacrificed their children to the Baal god, he would give them rain, and rain equaled crops, and crops equaled monetary, right, comfort, everything else.
Right. Which is no different than the Mayans or the Incans, who also have those. And wasn't it Abraham that was I don't know, somebody in the Old Testament, I'm not the best, was about to sacrifice their son.
Yes.
And then
Abraham, Isaac, and the ram showed up.
Yeah, the ram showed up. Yeah. And so I mean, it's obviously.
So all this
in the Bible.
Yeah. So all this sacrificing, and we have modern day sacrifice today that are called something that begin with an A. But
I figure if you're at the gas pump, you're definitely sacrificing for sure right now.
Well, so I think we're going to see riots this summer like we've never seen before. This is going to be the push. 2020 is for the Luciferians to make their push, their final, ultimate push, because the fight is really against artificial intelligence, against infinite intelligence. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out which one's going to win, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if I were them, I wouldn't name it artificial intelligence, right? I'd figure something else out. But see, artificial intelligence is nothing more than machine learning. And there's nothing wrong with it, but some people say, oh my gosh, it's the devil and blah, blah. Well, wait a minute, hold up just a second. It's machine learning, it's programming, it's algorithms. But what they want to do is that they want to take your consciousness and upload it. And when you look at Neuralink that Elon Musk has, I saw an interview from his girlfriend, or one of the girls that he had some children by, and she makes this comment about you'll be fine because, and I'm butchering this, but she's basically trying to sell universal payment.
Okay.
You don't have to work.
Yeah.
Machines will do everything. And here's an interesting piece. The machines are not going to replace the politicians. So who else are the machines going to replace?
Right. Well, I mean, aren't they? I mean, you look at you know, the way we build stuff. And again, you know, manufacturing. It's all done by machines for the most part. You might have one person there, watching 5 machines that used to do, you know, provide, you know, 20 jobs for other individuals.
Sure.
And we drove through Austin this past weekend, and by drive through Austin, I mean I take that toll to bypass downtown Austin. Austin's gorgeous, you know, it's gorgeous, but that traffic.
Yeah.
But you know, we drove by the Tesla manufacturing plant, and now granted, I don't think it's 100% up and running yet, and I don't know if it is. I don't know, but you know, Henry Ford wanted to make sure that all his employees could afford a Model T.
Right.
Okay, I don't know how many employees that are going to actually work at the factory at Tesla are going to be able to afford a Tesla, because as you're talking about, these prices are only going to continue to go up. I'll throw out another energy expert, David Blackman. He thinks we'll probably see about $150 oil this summer. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as those prices go up, you know, I don't know how that's going to, you know, they're going to try to force us to get in these other vehicles. And it's like, but they're more than a little car that gets good gas mileage.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the issue with Elon, you know, I ordered my Cybertruck, and I thought, man, this is going to be the coolest thing.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I probably won't get a Cybertruck until 2030.
No way.
I don't know. You know, I am throwing stones at Elon only because the patriot community thinks that Elon's a patriot, and he's not. He's a globalist. He's on their side. He is what's called controlled opposition. That they can control him to do certain things. This thing with Twitter, you're going to see this thing about this bots on Twitter. Twitter claims that it's 5% of bots. It's probably going to be 85% bots, 95% bots, not real people on Twitter, that controlled the perception of the American people, that cut President Trump off.
Yeah.
You know, all these things that went on. So, but, you know, Elon has never hit a target in his life. And, I mean, missed a complete planet. So, you know, I haven't shot a rocket at the planet. I'm not saying that that's easy, but, you know, when you talk about a target, you know, my gosh, you want to hit the moon? Can you hit the moon? So, but yeah, I don't think the Cybertruck's going to be here till 2025 or 2026, or who knows when it's going to be here.
Man, well, I'm excited to see it when you finally do get it, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, from what he sold,
yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh, he's sold a good number. His stock is more valued than all American companies' stock,
right.
You know, vehicle stocks are combined. You know, I mean, so he's done a good job on that end.
Yep.
And there's definitely room for. It's like, you know, more and more, and I'll use it, but there's room for alternative energy on vehicles.
Sure. Yep.
You know, look at, and I'll use the Starbucks, and they're not getting paid or anything. You know, but now you've got 3 or 4 different other competitors now that are
right.
in that deal. And granted, that is more probably apples to apples with the coffee, but you know, I'm all for these alternative energies. And hey, let somebody fill up, whether it's you know they want to do electric, you know, solar. That's great, but you can't force us into these things, and that's what it kind of feels like they're doing. They're really
right.
trying to force us into this Green New Deal or ESG, which is, you know. I feel like that's now basically taken over health, safety.
Yes.
It's taking over HR.
Right.
It's taking over all these other parts to where now all that is under ESG.
Yeah.
And you know, as a private independent oil and gas company, I have to be mindful of this because
sure.
You know, here in Texas, you know, small independents like myself take up the majority of the oil and gas companies, and we do a lot of the production here in this great state. However, this ESG thing, we're going to have to line up. We're actually in the middle of a new acquisition of more natural gas right now. Why? Because that's going to be part of the future is natural gas, and obviously it burns cleaner.
Right.
So I'm very excited about the opportunity, but we have to do some things here to play ball, so to speak. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you have to pick your battles. You really do. And but when it's time to move, it's time to move, right? And there's going to be an opening to move. And my move is, I've told people for 20 years about this stuff. And they said, man, that just can't be true, Joseph. Well, look, how about I show you on paper? How about I show you a congressional record? How about we go back and look at the archives and I'll show you? And after you show them, wow, that just can't be true. They are not willing to let go of that peanut. But once they get enough pain, they'll start to let go of that peanut. And this ESG thing is designed to cripple everybody that can't comply with it. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. The global company that I told you about earlier, they want to take their wells and hook solar and battery and everything else up to the well. Well, that's great. Let's do it. Yeah. Well, no, we want to. 6 months later, I found out that what they really wanted to do was an RFP. Well, when I heard that, that kind of flashed me a little bit.
Yeah.
That, wait a minute, you dragged me along for 6 months, and to get information, only to do an RFP. Take me off your list. I don't want any part of you. And so they said, well, we need to do a pilot program. How are you going? You're going to pilot solar panels there's no pilot to work on solar panel. The battery system works. You put them together. There is no pilot, and you want to get all over this ESG thing? What a fraud, man. You guys are getting ready to waste a full year before you ever get this done. Oh. And so I really think they're trying to run the clock out is what I think is what they're doing, because this ESG thing is going to be a killer to a lot of companies.
Man. Yeah, no, I mean, we're trying to play ball the best way we can right now. And my father, he feels that it is our duty to continue to produce this oil here in Texas. And, and granted, I am Texas born, so obviously, but we just need to continue to produce here in America.
Right.
And, if this president would just do a little bit to work with us, it's like, let's get those leases opened up. I mean, some of these federal leases can produce thousands of barrels of oil a day, and really get us going and help us out. And let's get this Keystone Pipeline back, let's get it operational so that this 800,000 barrels that we were getting from Russia, we can now get from our neighbor and our, treaty partner, Canada. And I think those are all the things that I can do right now is just continue to produce.
Sure.
And I mean, my wife drives a little car, and it's, right now it's $60 to fill it up.
Right.
And like you're talking about $10. I have a feeling we're going to see $5 gas for sure. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, we're at $4.39 right now.
Yeah.
And I yesterday, the market opened up, and I watched it, and I thought, that's interesting. And I thought, I bet this thing is going to run today. And so at 600, when it was down 600, I think at 600 I posted on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then I went back and I forgot what I wrote, but something to the effect of, here it comes. And so when it got to 1,200, down 1,200, I posted again. Well, is this enough? I mean, is anybody awake out there about what's going on? What more proof do you have to know that Biden's goal is to kill the oil and gas industry?
Yes.
And let me tell you a great story about this. In this electric frac movement, we put together all the players, all the people. Insurance companies have an interest in this. Some other folks had interest in this. So I talked to, and I don't mind throwing them out there, and under the bus, so to speak. But I talked to Chase Bank about this, right? So we're looking at a $500 million project, right? Okay. They like the green energy, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. Right? They like the electric motor. They like the solar panels. Man, they're all down for this. They even set up their own special department for the Green New Deal. Yeah. So I talked to him about this, and I would think with 50% equity, you could get something pulled off, right? Yeah. And so the guy says, "Well, look, we like the electric, we like the solar, we see the green energy. We don't like the industry." So Chase Bank has taken it upon themselves not to fund the oil and gas industry. The global company that I told you about, mm-hmm. the only reason they're doing this solar thing is the head fake to try to act like they're green, mm-hmm. instead of sucking it up and going to war over this issue. But they want to protect their stock position and their salaries and everything else, and it's like, hey, that's fine. But remember what happens when you capitulate. As a coward, when he capitulates, usually it's a lot worse than just standing. Now's the time to fight, mm-hmm. and they're not willing to do that. And so, but I thought it was very interesting that this is an all-out attack against the oil and gas industry.
Absolutely.
And they want to cut off the money. And this year, though, is the push in 2022 for the Luciferians. If they don't make this thing work this year, it's over. They're done forever. This is a lot like Exodus in the Bible, right?
Well, that's the Old Testament, yeah.
Yeah. So the 400 years they're in bondage. Well, if you look at us, about how long America's been around, there are so many patterns to this Exodus thing.
Well, let me ask you this, and first of all, definitely, for everybody watching, definitely check out his book, Destroying the Altars of Baal. Very great, fun read. But I need to get your crude truth. How do we stop the Biden administration? How do we win this war against President Biden on the oil and gas industry?
Yeah, I think if I tell you, the channel that you're on will cut you off. But I will tell you this. In chapter 10 of the book, we cover the oil and gas industry. And you guys in the oil and gas industry, hang in there, because here's what's coming. There's some hard times that are coming for the oil and gas industry. But as far as what's going to be done, and I can't say the name because it's in the book, again, for to make sure you see this thing, right?
Yeah, right.
But to pay off some things in this country, it's going to be the oil and gas industry that's going to help save America.
Okay.
And there is a group of countries that they're going to have some issues on their oil and gas production. And when that happens, it's going to be Israel, and it's going to be the United States with the oil that will supply it to the rest of the world. So hang in there and just do what you need to do to keep on producing.
That you're absolutely right. And then people also that don't know you, you're a stern, staunch businessman, but you're also a big philanthropist. So tell us about the group that you help out with, real quick.
Well, there's a great group over in Houston called Prison Entrepreneurship Program, okay. And what they do is that they go into the prisons and they teach the prisoners, mm-hmm. the guys that are getting ready to get out, of, hey, you don't have to go work, for somebody else. Let us show you how to read a financial statement. Mm-hmm. Let us show you these different things. You can start your lawn mowing business. You can start all these different companies when you get out. Yeah. And they have created this this incubator type facility for when these guys get out. They give them some direction and education. So if you're not a real man until you go to prison and sit down with these guys and go through this stuff.
Okay, I was about to say you were going to say something else there. Wait a minute.
No, that's not it.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh, man. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for being on today. And that's it. And we'll catch you here next time on the next episode of The Crude Truth.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.